Hey, concert band and cadet band, welcome to our first video lesson. Now, this one goes along with our articulation discussion that we're going to be doing here today. You have a little quiz that you're going to be taking within the Google Classroom that talks about the 4 different articulations and what you're going to be calling them. And be careful about the spelling, because Mr. Wilson might throw in some tricky things, spelling it incorrectly, okay? So I will put some of that stuff up here so that we can see what those various things are going to be called and how they're supposed to be spelled, okay? And then make sure you stay tuned for the entire video, because at some point I'm going to give you the secret code that you're going to put in at the end, basically verifying that you've watched this video, okay? So we're first going to start off with regular articulation, okay? Regular articulation, just every note is just as it is. You're going to lightly articulate the front end of the note. As a percussionist, you're going to tap 2 inches onto the snare drum or whatever instrument it is. You're not going to put any more emphasis. So for example, on euphonium, it would sound like this. Okay, nothing special about it. Now you got to be careful that there's clarity at the front end of the note. Okay, otherwise it may sound like you're trying to do another articulation. Okay, now getting into one of the 4 articulations, then the first one we're going to talk about then is staccato. Okay, staccato, and staccato is spelled, there it is, staccato. All right, staccato looks like a little dot that's going to appear over the note, and as you see staccato, then you're going to play it short. Okay, now I like detached. I like light and separated as better articulation definitions for this, but just to water everything down, we're just going to call it short. Okay, now how short? Some people say that it's half the value of the actual note. On percussion, you would just have to, if you see a quarter note, you're going to have to basically try to play an 8th note. You're going to have to make the instrument sound like it's supposed to be an 8th note versus a quarter note, okay? That means possibly dampening the instrument if you have control of that, depending on the instrument, okay? So on euphonium, though, instead of, I'm going to separate and have space in between all the notes. Okay, now if you have your instrument, you should try doing this, making sure you get 4 notes in a row or whatever you want to do. Play a little exercise and just play it staccato, okay? The problem tends to be for most people is that they may understand, they may be able to define, they may be able to spell, but they don't know how to put it onto their instrument. So just listening to the air, now you can see right here as I'm doing it, that's how my articulation is. I'm touching the back of both lips. Okay, typically I'm touching the top lip and the teeth for euphonium, but I am getting a ping, a clarity that starts the note, but I'm also getting separation between the notes. Try that with me. Okay, does yours sound like mine? If it doesn't, then maybe you're not quite doing staccato. There's no clarity to the front of the note, because if it's then it's just not going to work out, okay? It's not going to sound very good. It's going to sound like this. Okay, there's no clarity to start the note, and staccato has to have clarity, a ping, P-I-N-G, to start that note, okay? So staccato, so that's staccato. Short, okay? So moving on, we're going to get into the other one that's not heavy yet. Okay, so we're going to go to tenuto. It's a line that covers the note on either the note head side, okay, here, or it's always on the note head side, actually. So if you have the note, there's a line on the top. Now, if the stem is going up, it's not going to be here. It's going to be on the note head side, okay? Articulations are always on the note head side. And tenuto, which is what we're going to call it, tenuto, is a articulation that leads to the style of playing legato, okay? L-E-G-A-T-O, legato. But tenuto, spelled like this, is a line over the note, and it is full value. Now, we have to get into it a little bit more, okay? It's total full value. You're trying to get rid of that ping that starts the note. It has to be clear, okay? So you can't have it kind of come in and change volume. It's just going to be a nice brush, as if you're barely articulating. It's going to sound like this. Okay, now you can hear every single note start. It's almost like it's slurred, okay? It's almost like it's slurred, but since it's the same note, I am lightly articulating. Okay, now on the air side, it's gonna sound like this. Okay, and you may have heard, if you can hear this in the microphone, you may have heard that it sounds more thuffy, okay? But you can't have it kind of scoop in, okay? It just has to lightly touch, okay? That's it. Tenuto, okay? So moving on, we're getting into our full value but heavy accents, okay? Which would be accent, okay? Now, in the grand scheme of things, there's a lot of debate as to whether or not accent, spelled like this, whether or not accent actually is an Italian marking, is what it's called. Some people call it something else. I have trouble calling it accent, honestly, but a good chunk of people do that, and that's what a lot of method books do, so I'm going to teach you that it's called accent. Okay, and it looks like a little wedge on top of the note. Looks like a little greater than sign, and that's going to be, again, on the note head side, and it's going to be heavy and full value. Heavy and full value, okay? So I'm going to smack the start of the note. I'm going to smack the start of the note, and then let it decay a little bit. Ah. Okay, so every note kind of has a hammer start, okay? And then it decays a little bit, but they're not separated. They're not separated. We'll listen one more time. Okay, there is some connection to the next note. It almost looks like boom, boom, boom. Okay, so it would sound like on air like this. There's a clear start to the note, but it's like there's these pulses of air, okay? Try it with me. Ready? Okay, if your air sounded like that with me, go back and review that. Make sure on all of these that you can do it with your air. Then that is something that should easily transfer to the instrument. Now, if you're a percussionist, this is the difference between having 2 and 8. Okay, tap, 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 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. Okay, so you're gonna make a higher stick height every time you see an accent. Okay, now for tenuto, percussion, you're just really not gonna see that. If they ask you to play tenuto, you're just going to have to change the mallets or the sticks that you're playing. That's it. You're just not going to see that. They'll probably tell you to play with a softer mallet or a softer stick or whatever it is for that type of stuff. Okay, they'll give you a style marking instead of putting it over on a specific note because you really have trouble changing it on one specific note for percussion. Okay, so that is accent. Okay, accent. Now, the last one here is called Marcato, spelled like this. Okay, and Marcato is very much like accent, except for there is space, and it's a wedge that is over the top of the note, and it sounds like this. Okay, so there is a big up front. It's very hammered, but it's separated between every single note. It's almost like it's a spitball. Okay, now if you see this on percussion, you're still going to do the 8. You maybe do a little bit louder, okay? Because sometimes this is considered to be louder than accent for percussion. Sometimes, depend on the composer. But you may need to play it really dry and like hammer the note and leave the stick on there so that it dampens it. You could do that on mallet instruments, for example. So you're smacking it pretty hard and then you're leaving it on there so that you're dampening it afterwards. That way you can play with this. You're not going to see that in junior high. You might see it in high school, okay? But it's very unlikely. Typically, you have accents. And maybe you have staccato. But that's pretty much it for percussion. So let's review, okay? We have the wedge, okay, which is accent, spelled like this. We have Marcato. Marcato is separated like spitballs. Okay? And that is heavy and short. This is just heavy and full value. So heavy and full value. Heavy and short. And then not only that, but then we get into tenuto, which is full value. We have staccato, which is short, okay? By the way, here it is, okay? So the secret word for us today, okay, that you're gonna have to do in the fill in the blank thing, and it's very specific. Ready? It is Jeep. Surprising, right? It's Jeep, but here's the thing. It's capital J, so it's not lowercase j. So make sure you type in J-E-E-P, capital J, okay? And that'll give you points for that line, okay? So let's one last time. Let's go ahead and review. We have staccato, short. Line over top of the note. Tenuto, full value. We have the wedge, is called heavy and full value, accent. Accent, heavy and full value. And then we have the housetop capped accent, some people call Marcato, which is heavy and short. Okay, guys. Hey, so make sure that you're trying these on your instrument. Try it with the air. Make sure you can do make differences of these. In years past, what we did is we actually had an articulation test in which you played 4 normal, 4 accent, 4 marcato, 4 staccato, 4 tenuto, and then back to 4 normal. And sometimes I would mix them up. And I would have students actually do this and in class on one note. And a lot of students found that that was one of their harder tests that they actually had to take, because it was not just understanding, but it was actually demonstrating that skill. It's kind of like saying, yeah, I understand how baseball, soccer, football, all this stuff is supposed to be played. I understand how I'm supposed to throw the ball. But it doesn't mean you have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. It doesn't mean you have control of whatever the sports, analogy it is for you, okay? You understand how golf works. You're going to swing the club. You're going to hit the ball. It needs to go into the hole. Why can't you do that the first time, okay? So it's a practice. It's an application, learning how you need to actually change what you're doing to get these actual things. These actual accents. Now, here's the problem: is that it gets even more difficult, guys, because every composer interprets them slightly different. There are times where you will be playing stuff by Beethoven or Mozart or whatnot, and you have to understand how each accent is actually interpreted by that composer. Because if you don't, you will play it separated, and it didn't ask you to play it separated. Not only that, after this, they do start putting some articulations together. We might actually have seen that in some of our concert band music, not so much in cadet band, and it's very rare in concert band, but they'll start doing combined articulations, meaning that you have a line and a dot, a tenuto and a staccato, separated but full value. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things that come into play once you get into these beginning articulations. Okay, well, that's it for today, guys. After you're done, go ahead and take a look at the link down here below in the YouTube description. Follow that link into the actual test and take the quiz. You can totally go back and you can review this and you can use that during the test. You're going to do what you're going to do. But the idea is that at the end that you do know this stuff. Okay? That's it for today, guys. Thanks. We'll see you later.